Coming up on this episode of the Preston North End Weekend Warm-Up, we've got goals, and more goals. We'll start the look ahead to the trip to Millwall, and our very special guest this week is wrestling royalty, Preston's very own Stu Bennett. But only here on the Preston North End Weekend Warm-Up. Hello again, and yes, into the business end of the season now, and yes, still smiling, and yes, it's because of those wins against Queen's Park Rangers and Reading. And here's all the goals.
Well, it's sent in this time, and the header is buried, and it's Tom Cannon who scored. North End are at it again on the road, and they've got a goal that Tom Cannon has scored. It's his fourth goal in the last 5 games, and it could well be a 10th away win of the season from Ryan Lowe's side. It was coming, finally it has happened. North End get the breakthrough, and the playoff chase is on. It's Queen's Park Rangers 0, Preston North End 1.
What a header that is. The way he steals in ahead of his man, the way he just guides it into the far corner. He's got so much to do there, but you almost back him in those situations. He's been such a good asset for North End.
It's Queen's Park Rangers who still have it now. It is with Dickey on the halfway line. As the Queen's Park Rangers attack has just been put out for now. And they exchange a couple of neat passes just inside their own half. They've lost it again, and here's Johnson, who couldn't find one of the front two, as the flag will probably go up here. No, it stayed down. It's Cannon again. He's through, and he scores! Tom Cannon at the double has made it 2-0 for North End here at Loftus Road, and he puts Queen's Park Rangers deep in trouble at the bottom of the championship table. They're desperately looking at the bottom 3 now, but it's Tom Cannon again who's done it. What a run of goal-scoring form he's having. It's his 6th of the season. It's Queen's Park Rangers 0, Preston North End 2. It's Fernandez with Josh Onomer showing good control and finding Fernandez, and here's Tom Cannon!
Yes!
Yes! The goal has come, and it's Tom Cannon who's done it again. There's just no stopping him right now. And finally, Ryan Lowe's side can celebrate. They have the breakthrough, and it's Tom Cannon with his 7th of the season that makes it Preston North End 1, Reading 0.
Brilliant play again, switched the ball out. Alvaro Fernandez has been absolutely outstanding this afternoon. Great play between him and Josh Onomer, turns the defender, plays him back in. Great composure, lovely cutback, touch, bang, no stopping it, he's on fire. Great finish.
It's Brady with the left foot in towards the far post. It's loose, and it's
Yes!
And they've scored! They've done it! It's Brad Potts, the match winner! What a huge goal it could be! And it's Brad Potts who's done it! Right at the very end, deep into injury time, when they needed a hero, it's Brad Potts who's stepped up to deliver, and it could be a vital win in the top 6 chase for Ryan Lowe's side. What a moment, and what a win it could well be. Preston North End 2, Reading 1, what a finish.
What a great header back it was by Andrew Hughes. Brad Potts weren't going to miss that. Determination to get there. It was his great work as well that won the corner in the first place. It's no more than deserved, Jonathan. They've been absolutely fantastic, Preston.
And let's hope those goals keep on coming. Special guest time, and I'm talking a big special guest, both physically, because he's massive, and in the world of entertainment. WWE megastar Wade Barrett is our special guest this week. Bad news, Barrett, it's only good news from him, because Stu Bennett, as you and I will soon get to know him, is a big North End fan. Right, first of all then, thank you so much for doing this. Genuinely appreciate it. I've been sending messages on social media to try and get it for ages. We took a shortcut through North End's official channel in the end. So thank you for that. How are you?
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Everything's great, thank you. I'm here in Los Angeles. We've got a hell of a time delay between us. But yeah, excited. Everything's going well in my life, and things at North End right now could not be better. So what a time to come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the time delay is like having a chat with Ronnie Hildersley. It takes a few moments to sink into his brain when we talk to him. So we get that. So WWE megastar, 5-time Intercontinental belt winner. You've won all sorts in there as well. You are, I think it's fair to say, a legend in those quarters. So let's take you very back to the beginning. Penwitham boy. I bet you don't remember much of it though, do you? All that way back, because you moved away quite early.
Yeah, I left when I was 6 years old. So I lived on Central Drive near the Sir Tom Finney pub, just down the road from there. Went to Whitefield Comprehensive for about 2 years. And then I was whisked away to North Wales. So really very brief stop in Preston. Remember a couple of things here and there. Remember my dad taking me to Deepdale when I was about 5, I think, for the first match I ever went to. But really my strongest link to Preston ever since has been Preston North End.
Because it would have been really easy for you when you moved at such a small age to have chosen a team from that area as well, or even one of the top flight teams, I suppose. So what kept that bond so strong?
Well, I think fortunately I moved to North Wales, so the options against Preston were pretty much Chester City or Wrexham, neither of which were any better. So it was kind of easy for me to stick with Preston. But the real thing was my dad is a massive Preston North End fan. He goes way back to when he was a kid waiting outside Deepdale for Tom Finney's autograph and all that kind of stuff. So he was insistent that myself and my brother were going to come along for the ride with him. And you've got to remember the time when I was getting blooded in Deepdale, brought along as a Preston North End fan. We were the worst we'd ever been in our history. The stadium was terrible. We were applying for re-election into the Football League. It had got so bad, and it was just a disastrous time. So the great thing is when you get brought in at that level, it's only uphill from here. Like, it can't get any worse, pretty much. So I got in a good time with my dad. Like I say, he kind of pushed through those tough early years where everyone's watching Liverpool destroy everyone in Europe, and he kind of, no, we're not going to watch Liverpool, we're not going to watch Everton or any of those other teams, we're going to go and watch Preston North End. All right, Dad, let's go.
We're quite similar ages, so I had exactly the same experience starting to watch North. In fact, my first ever North End match was against Millwall, who we play this weekend, and I can remember quite vividly going across the park, going into the West Stand with my Auntie Jean and all that sort of stuff. Do you have any memories of that first game that you went to?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember going along and just being walking up the into the stand. I assume it was probably the old West Stand that my dad took me in. But I remember seeing the pitch for the first time. Now, I'd seen football on TV, and I remember it was plastic at this point, so it looked immaculate, of course. There's no muddy patches or anything like that. And I just remember being mesmerised by this pitch before me, even though this stand and stadium was awful at that point. It was all wooden benches, really needed to be collapsed and rebuilt up, as it subsequently was. But I remember just being blown away by this field ahead of me, and nobody was on it at this point. And then slowly the players are coming out and warming up. So that's really my main memory of it. I remember the noise of everyone around me shouting and me not knowing what to do. And then I picked out one player. And I can remember him because he was the only black player on the team. It was Osher Williams, and that was now my guy. And every time he got the ball, go on, Osher, go on. That's all I could do. I didn't know anyone else or what I was supposed to be shouting for, but I had my one player and I backed him.
He will love that. He came to the game last week with his wife as well. So I will let him know. Yeah. I will let him know.
Absolutely. He was my first favourite as a 5-year-old boy going to Preston. So that was my guy, Osher Williams.
Brilliant. You couldn't have picked a better guy as well. Did you ever play yourself? You were a footballer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I played from a very young age. I probably started playing in Preston just on a very minor level. My dad kicking the ball around me and, kicking it about in the street. So then when I moved to North Wales, I started getting into school teams, or I started playing for Sunday league teams, and then I moved down to Cardiff, carried on playing. Never really in any danger of being a professional or going anywhere with it. I was always a decent player, but I was quite a late developer for my age. So physically, I was not, it might surprise you now, being 6'6" and 18.5 stone, but physically I just wasn't able to compete with other players at my level at that point. So that was something that certainly hindered me.
So go on then. How did you get from a Penwitham lad going to North Wales to where you are now, this entertainment megastar across in America?
Well, honestly, I was about 19, 20 years old. I was in university in Liverpool at the time, and I was very, very skinny. Tall, obviously, 6'6". I was about 12.5 stone, though. So I was like almost a skeleton walking around. And I'd been obsessed with WWE and wrestling for many years at that point. And I remember reading in a book by a wrestler called Mankind. If anyone's a fan of wrestling in the kind of 90s, they'll remember him. Mick Foley, he was a huge star at the time. I remember reading his autobiography. It came out while I was in university, and it was 250,000 words. It was the thickest wrestling autobiography that had ever come out, and I read it in 2 days. I was just obsessed with this. I put it down, and the very next day I signed up for the local gym and started pumping iron and telling everyone, I know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to be a professional wrestler in WWE. Of course, everyone said that was the most ridiculous thing ever. So one look at me being skinny, Stu, kind of shy, and you're never going to make it. But I was in my head, I'm going to go do it. And that took me on a pathway to kind of figuring out how I got to the next step. And for me, it was always, how do I get to the next step? Where do I find a wrestling training school? How do I get better? How do I start wrestling in front of live paying audiences? How do I start getting noticed by people in the US? And it was just what's the next step? What's the next step? And it was the most singular focus I've ever had in my life. And I don't think I could ever do it again now, because I don't know what drove me at that point, but something did, and I just refused to take no for an answer and kept on this train, and somehow, some way it all worked out.
And you've had a few different nom de plumes, shall we say, in your wrestling career as well. Wade Barrett being one of them. Is it true that the Wade name comes from Wade Dooley, who used to play for Preston Grasshoppers, or is that an urban myth? Is that true?
No, that's absolutely true. Yeah. So like WWE like to own the copyright to names, which is why I'm not Stu Bennett on the show, because they can't copyright that. They can't put it on T-shirts and own that. It would always be my ownership, and I could take that wherever I want. So that's why they make you come up with a different name. So absolutely, I was trying to come up with a name, tried a couple, didn't really fit. And then I remember as a kid, my dad, whenever the rugby was on, and it was the Five Nations as it was back then, he would always be very proud of the fact that the lock for England was from Preston, the Preston Grasshopper. His name's Wade Dooley. And I remember as a kid, Wade, that's a really unusual name. Now, if you come to the US, it's quite a common name. There's a lot of people named Wade in this country. But I remember thinking as a kid, wow, I've never heard anyone. I remember getting to the age of 17, 18, I've never met another Wade. That's the only Wade. So it was always in my head. I quite liked that name. So I brought it to my boss at the time. There was a guy called the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, who was a professional wrestling legend. He loved the name, and he kind of gave me the second name to go with it, and I ran with it from there. But yeah, absolutely, Wade Dooley is the source of Wade Barrett.
Part 2 of our chat later in the show. Right, just before we start to look forward to this weekend's game, let's go back. It's only 4 years to 2019. A trip to Millwall that ended with a 3-1 win and extended an unbeaten run to 8 matches. Blink at the start and you'll very possibly miss 3 very fast goals.
Well, Millwall have got a goal kick, and it's Jordan Archer who is the one ready to take it. Big, tall goalkeeper in all green. And he's got a decent kick on him as well as it goes upfield. Alan Brown wins it, and Preston try to send Maguire through again. He is quick, he's having a look for some support. He's got a lot to do from a wide angle as he plays it in for Backayton, and the shot is blocked by the defender. Could have been a moment to celebrate on his 100th appearance for the club. Gallagher stood over this free kick then, again eyeing up the options in front of him. Right-footed, he sends it towards the far post. It drops here for Hughes. Oh, and that's a great finish. And Andrew Hughes, who scored against Millwall before Christmas, has done it again here at the New Den. And what a start it is for the Lily Whites in just 3 minutes of the game played. They are ahead. It's Millwall 0, Preston 1.
Millwall fans aren't too happy that the ball is in the quadrant, but it's been played in, and it was helped in by Tom Clark, and he scored! 2-0 to Preston, and Tom Clark is back in the team with a goal, and he takes off his mask to celebrate, because Preston, with 15 minutes gone, are leading here in the capital by 2 goals to 0. Potts back for Clark now, who's being hurried, but Millwall trying to use their own strength. Ben Pearson is getting in there too. Tom Clark has helped it up towards Gallagher, and now here's Maguire trying to get it past the keeper, and he scores! It's getting better and better for Preston in this first half, and Sean Maguire, who's been excellent all game to this point, has now got his goal. It's his second of the season, and there's clear daylight between Millwall and Preston. It's Millwall 0, Preston 3. As the game continues with Preston leading by 3 goals to 0, they'll start to feel more and more comfortable despite the early Millwall pressure. Ben Pearson was scythed down there, but Preston are playing on, and they've got Potts here in a good position. Barkhazen is in the middle as well, as Potts goes for goal, and it's turned behind by Jordan Archer, and it's a good save in the end for the Millwall man. It's played up towards Steve Morrison now. Romeo will try and knock it back too, and Ben Pearson will clear. Half a chance there for Millwall as Romeo got in behind the Preston defence. They are throwing everything at Preston at the moment, are Millwall, to try and get back in the game, and Ferguson's done well since coming on at half time. He lays it off this time, and Ben Pearson and Wallace go shoulder to shoulder before it is sent back now for Marshall. An awkward one as Steve Morrison heads it down, and it is a goal, and it's Ben Thompson with his first touch who's got it, having just come onto the field.
Right, let's get back into our chat now with WWE megastar Stu Bennett, 5-time Intercontinental Champion, but as far as you and me are concerned, most importantly, massive North End fan. So as far, I mean, we can see behind you there, all your flags, you've got your, it looks like a signed shirt there up the with your name on the back.
That's this season's team too. That's a very important one. Could be the promotion team.
We're crossing our fingers on that one. I'll ask you about that in a second. You've got the lamb over your other shoulders as well. So how do you follow us out in America? Do you watch all the games?
Yeah, so like I said, I left Preston when I was 6 years old. So throughout my life, it's never been the easiest to watch Preston. When I was living in Cardiff, the best things we could do is go and watch against Cardiff City, Swansea City, Hereford, Shrewsbury, the Bristol teams, even down to Exeter and Plymouth and places like that, along to Reading. So we had kind of the M4 corridor, which was pretty nice to us, but it was almost always away games. I lived in Liverpool for university, which was a great season. It was the 99-2000 season, and I'd be on to every game, obviously the big promotion year, which was fantastic. But for the most part, my following of Preston has been a little tough all my life. Ironically, it's now easier than ever because we have this great app we can sign up for called iFollow. I can get pretty much every game wherever I am, and I'll be flying 35,000 feet in the air across the US and watching a Preston North End game on my phone, which is absolute insanity. Yeah. So it's never been easier for me to follow Preston North End.
And I know you're not an active wrestler anymore. We spoke earlier, didn't we, about the number of belts that you won. Your career was phenomenal. Have you hung up your... What do you say? What do you hang up? You hung up your undies. What? I don't know what you say.
We say hang up your boots. It's
boots. Okay. Yeah.
But undies works as well.
Sorry.
I know what you mean.
And the official, let's say that you've officially hung up your boots. I'll say it that way. The football, obviously, one of them. I'm so sorry about that.
That's good.
But do any of the other lads that you sort of either work with or that wrestle now follow football? And do you ever try and convert them to be North End followers?
Yeah, so Seamus, an Irish lad, he supports Liverpool. I've got a good mate named Drew McIntyre. He supports Glasgow Rangers. Couple of lads support Everton. And then we've got all the Mexican wrestlers. They all tend to support either Real Madrid or Barcelona. We've got a German guy there supports Bayern Munich. So it's pretty well-rounded. On kind of Wednesdays, Tuesdays, if we're filming, we usually have all the European and Mexican guys get together, and we'll be watching because it's during the day here. all the Champions League games and stuff like that. But as things stand, I'm the only true Preston North End fan. I've got a good friend named Cody Rhodes who just main evented WrestleMania this week, and he's kind of a pseudo Preston North End fan. And I remember a few years ago, he's one of the biggest names in the company right now too, so he's a massive star. But I remember a few years ago, I went to train at Deepdale and have a kickabout with the lads before one of our shows in Manchester, and Cody told me afterwards, hey, if you ever get the chance to do that again and I'm there, I'd love to come along with you. So I'll hold him to that. One day we'll absolutely try and get Cody Rhodes over to Deepdale. I think if we all start tweeting Cody Rhodes, thank him for his support, Preston North End, encourage him to come along, maybe we'll get him a shirt too.
So yeah, we'll clip this up and we'll say, Cody, if you're watching, you, me, Stu, 20,000 other North Enders, we'll get you to Deepdale, we'll get you up at half-time and we'll get you trained. I'm sure Lowy would love that as well, getting you.
Absolutely. He'd be awesome. He'd be a lot of fun. He's a great entertainer, great guy too, and I think he can be our first true American Preston North End fan.
So in terms of you watching it now then, do you have favourite players now in the same way that Osher was maybe your favourite back then? Who do you look out for now?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the two first names on the team sheet have got to be Alan Brown and Daniel Johnson. I think their consistency of performance over the past few years has just been absolutely outstanding. Freddie Woodman's been brilliant this season, of course. On top of that, you've got Tom Cannon, who's coming in, blown us away. Ched is brilliant. Hopefully everything's going okay with him and we can get him back sooner or later. I know he's had some injury issues of late. But yeah, just the team in general. Historically, my favourite kind of players have always been the battlers. So my favourite player of my lifetime anyway has been Sean Gregan, who every time he was on the pitch when I was watching, he looked like he was 2 foot taller than anybody else on the pitch for some reason. I measured him, he's not actually ridiculously tall. I guess he's about 6'2" or something like that, which is pretty tall, but he just looked like a giant on the pitch, and he looked like he was ready to die out there. Every time he got on the pitch for North End, he was ready to die in pursuit of victory. So anytime you get a player like that, the shades of that in like a Ryan Ledson too right now. I like those battlers, the ones who are prepared to bleed for the shirt and do all it takes to go out and win. So historically speaking, that's what I'm always been drawn to.
Did you see when Potsy scored the winner against Reading at the weekend? It looked like Ryan Ledson, who was pulling some wrestling moves out himself. I thought he'd slammed him to the floor, a bit of a clothesline, and then down he went. Yeah, he's got that.
I was tagged in by a few people asking me to get Ryan Ledson a WWE contract. So certainly that might be up for grabs. We're always on the lookout for new British wrestling superstars. And I think our first top scouser in WWE could work pretty well. He clearly has the moves and the aggression. I'm just glad Potsy got through it in one piece.
You can't have him yet. You can't have him. Wait till the season right. At least. Playoffs? What are we thinking, by the way? We've got a chance, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. So I'm all too aware how big the upcoming Millwall game is and the Blackburn Rovers game. They're just massive 6-pointers. So I think we'll know a lot more after we get through those two games. But it's been a long time since I felt, wow, this late in the season, we're in with a shout of doing something here. And this, football has always been a momentum game. Doesn't matter what happened earlier in the season, what happens is this run-in at the end. And I'm hoping we can stay as healthy as we can for this running, keep firing away, and you never know, something really, really special can happen.
And in terms of your career, as I say, you've hung your boots up now. I've got the terminology right there, but you're doing brilliantly on the microphone in terms of the coverage that you do on the TV. It's absolutely fantastic. You've just seamlessly moved into that as well. So fair play, and a little bit of acting. I know you've been in a couple of films as well. So in terms of, I suppose, leading and moving from playing to management, how do you feel about Ryan Lowe? And could you have ever been a manager? Do you think is that something that you could do?
Absolutely not. First of all, Ryan Lowe has been superb. He was like, a shot in the arm for Preston when he came in. He's got that charisma, that scout swagger that I think has helped, carry a bunch of confidence into the dressing room for Preston. So he's doing great. He had a little wobble, I think, mid-season where things could have gone off the rail, but I think it's a real testament to his character and his management that he stopped that, turned it around and pushed it back, and we're now stronger than we've ever been, which is a real credit to him and his crew of guys that are managing the club right now. In terms of me being a manager, absolutely not. I don't think I would get a wink of sleep. I think it would be impossible for me to switch my brain off. I have so much kind of natural anxiety anyway, that to go into management, I think would be a complete disaster for me. So I'm the last guy who's ever going to go out and criticise Preston North End managers, even when the going gets tough, because hell, I could not do that job. And I don't think many of us could, if we're perfectly honest.
I think it's fair to say none of them would argue with you if you ever decided to do that. Listen, thank you so much, because I know your time is precious and we all really, really appreciate you spending a few moments. And I could speak to you all night long about Preston North End, and I can tell from your passion that you probably could too. But thanks a million. We genuinely appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime. Thank you very much for having us on. And hopefully next time I speak with you guys, when something very special has happened at Deepdale and we're finally going to get into those playoffs. So we're all like this right now. Who knows? Keep the faith.
What an absolute gent. And I'm sure we'll get a massive welcome when he does come back to Deepdale. Hopefully, very soon. Right, let's start the focus fully now on this weekend's trip down to London to take on Millwall and all the news from right here at the training ground in Exton. Starting from, of course, the man at the top, the manager, Ryan Lowe.
Both teams will go for it, won't they? No, I don't think there'll be any holding back from both teams, because both teams will want to win. I think the crowd will play a big factor. You know, we've sold 1,200 tickets and all our fans are going down in numbers, and I'm sure Millwall's fans will get behind their team. But listen, I'm just looking forward to an exciting game of football, and hopefully we can come out on top with the performance. You know, I think Gary's done a fantastic job already this season, and he'll be wanting to implement his place in the playoffs. But so does a lot of other teams, us included. So yeah, it's going to be an important game for both teams, I think.
I mean, I think we've all got enough belief now, and our away record speaks for itself at the minute. So yeah, I mean, we're going to go down there with full of confidence, and we're going to take the game to them.
There's always someone there to shoot you down and to stop that momentum, but look, we're just going to keep taking each game as it comes, so we're not getting too carried away, never too high, never too low, which I've used numerous times, because it's important too. But the fact of the matter is our next one's Millwall away, and we've got to prepare right for them because it's a tough game. And then I'm sure the rest will take care of itself from there on in.
It's the business end of the season, isn't it? So it's a good time to be in form, and yeah, hopefully it can continue.
And that is almost that. If you are thinking of going to Millwall and you haven't got a ticket, don't, because you can't pay on the day. You can stay in touch, of course, on iFollow P&E, and you can watch the midweek game against Swansea City on iFollow P&E as well, unless, of course, you fancy the trip down to Swansea, and then fair play to you. Tickets for the final two home games of the season against Blackburn Rovers and against Sunderland are now on sale, mypne.com. If you want more details, have a look on the website and, of course, all our social media channels. And when you're at Deepdale, come and have a look at the Gentry Bar. The opening was magnificent, and hopefully you enjoyed it too. We always like feedback here as well, so if you want to leave a comment somewhere down there, please do so. Like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and give me 3 wings when you get home, because I'm worried about you because you forgot last time, didn't you? And until next time, come on, you Whites!